Hi, welcome back to the Cobra's Nest. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Mignon Cobra and I specialize in minimalist videos. The topic of today's video is how to be smart with your money. I got this idea originally from having read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And it's a really good book for those of you who kind of would like to, you're sick and tired of being broke or poor or having just really unhealthy relationships with like your finances. This is a really good book to get you started. So how did I get into this? It was by pure coincidence. I was at the bookstore with Will and he happened to come across and he passed it to me and I was like, oh, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I grew up seeing those ads on the subway, so like I flipped through it and I was like, whoa, this book's really good. And before that book, I had like really bad financial habits. I used to take any money that I made or saved or came across and I just thought that like money was something to be spent, and I would just go and I would just spend my money. Like I would go out of my way to find things to spend my money on. It was really bad. I had like no idea whatsoever about any form of like long-term goals with my money. To me, I just thought like adults and that will take care of it. Okay, so let's just get started. So the main idea about like Rich Dad Poor Dad, he talks about how like the rich buy luxury items last and the poor buy luxury items first, and that kind of differentiates between those who are poor and those who are rich. So kind of what's the difference between like luxury items and like assets? So luxury items are anything that you spend your money on that has no resale value. So for the price that you paid, you don't get the same amount of money back. For example, that can be like getting your hair done, getting your nails done, makeup, buying a car. These things, once you've paid for it, you can't resell it, or if you do, it's not for the same price that you bought it at. So in contrast, assets is something that increases in value. So that might be coming back. So that could be like collecting rent on property you own. If you run a business, money comes in from that. That's an asset. If you have an app, when people purchase your app or make in-app payments, that's an asset. There's many, but just to kind of give you an idea of what the difference between a luxury item and an asset is. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, if you want to stop being poor, you gotta get out of the rat race. So what's the rat race? The rat race is like, so yeah, the idea is that you're always in competition with your neighbors for like bigger and better stuff. And when you so like you go to work and you, in order to afford this lifestyle, you end up living paycheck to paycheck. And so you're just, it's like a constant cycle. It's like a rat on a treadmill. You just never get out of it. So and essentially it leaves you poor regardless of how much money you make. I think the book said that like even doctors get caught in the rat race. Like it really doesn't matter how much you make. If you live in a rat race lifestyle, you stay poor. You never get richer. That's kind of the life I actually thought that's all there was to life. Like that's how unhealthy my relationship with money was. I thought that I was gonna get a job, and the whole point of getting a job was so I could buy like a big fancy house and like I get the latest car, change my car car model every several years, and go on pretty vacations and just buy fancy clothes. I thought that was the point of money, but in the book, it changed my perspective for money because you think much long term with your goals. Like you got to start thinking about like not only living paycheck to paycheck, but how will you take care of yourself in your old age. All right, so how do we get out of the rat race? So like now that we've established what's the rat race, how do we get out of it? So how do you get out of it is you do the opposite of living a rat race lifestyle. You don't buy a new phone every several years or the latest car model, or looking to buy a bigger and better house or competing with the Joneses. What you do is you keep your like lavish expenses as down to the minimum as you can, and in turn you take as much of what you make of your like active income and you try to turn it into passive income. So that's like okay, so what's the difference between active and passive income? Active income is like you need to go to work and you need to put in the time to generate the income, versus passive income, you don't actually need to physically be there for the income to come. Before you have your passive income, you take your active income and you try to convert it into passive income. So you try to spend your money assets as opposed to, like I mentioned, going on a big shopping spree for things that have no resale value. Okay, so that brings us into three, I guess, concepts that I wanted to talk about. So the first one is being frugal, and that's quality of life. So you want to keep your living costs as not bare minimum as you can, but like this is actually how I ended up in minimalism, because this was the idea that I was trying to like cut my costs down and live as as frugal as I could, or as least lavish as I could. So essentially is live your life in a quality way, but you don't be lavish. You don't need to buy an excess of things, of like a bajillion small shitty things, when you can just buy one solid thing to keep yourself covered, to keep going for the long term, because you're gonna need to grind like a mofo for many years before you can start to see the benefit of your labors. Alright, so the next thing, make your money work for you. So Robert Kiyosaki talked about how like every dollar you have, think of it as an employee. You want to make them work for you, because money, unlike a human, can work 24/7. So for every dollar that comes into your grasp, hold on to it and re-put it back into that cycle of like passive income and revenue and things like that. You don't want to go out and release it and spend it on unnecessary luxuries. And number 3, invest in yourself first, or as Robert Kiyosaki would say, pay yourself first. And I'm sorry if I'm saying his name wrong. I gotta go back and check. I'll just call him Robert for now. Me and Robert tight like that now. Yeah, so the next is you want to invest in yourself first. So this is the idea that you pay yourself first and you invest in yourself. So instead of like okay, so how to invest in yourself, for example, it's bettering yourself. So instead of reading the tabloids, you want to pick up a business magazine and you want to see what's going on in the world, the business world, or you want to keep your eyes open for opportunities of growth, where you can just kind of get in there while things are low, and then it'll increase or whatever, and then you sell high. I think it's like the bull and bear method or something. And investing in yourself is it's just keeping that open mind for opportunities. That's really investing in yourself and keeping yourself knowledgeable. And like, knowledge is power. That's what I think. Knowledge is power. So the more you know, the better informed decisions you can make, and when opportunities come along, you'll be ready. So the next thing is, in like relation with that, is paying. Disclaimer, you should pay your bills on time and your credit cards on time, but in terms of like loans and things like that, you need to pay yourself first. Like when you work, you cut from, like, say you're like a monthly income, you take a certain cut and you put that away for yourself before you pay other. Like, you need to make sure you have the money to pay your bills, but you also need to make sure you have a certain cut that pays you first before you go and pay other people, or like pay the government. Because as Robert said, he would rather the government lose sleep than himself tossing and turning in the bed wondering where the money is going to come from. So yeah, pay yourself first. So just my personal 3 tips on like how to overcome this lust for material things, to kind of tie in with being smart with your money. Number 1, I want to say, no, not number 1, just that I might have come to realize that material things don't bring happiness. And if you have enough experience to have realized material things don't bring you happiness anyway, you really will see you're not missing out on anything. You don't need to buy the latest gadgets. Number 1, you gotta visualize a goal. You gotta visualize, and whether you make like a dream board or whatever, what is it? What is it that you want? Like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you sacrificing material comforts? Once you have a strong desire and a strong understanding of why you're doing this, it's really easy to overcome. And number 2, to overcoming the lust for material things, writing out steps. So it's great to have in mind the end goal, but you need to ask yourself, like, how are you going to get there? So like, for example, write out like, avoid going to the malls except for weekends. Like for me, I used to go to the mall all the time, even during the weekdays, just to like de-stress. Of course, when you're at the mall, there's nothing but shopping. It's really easy to see things that you didn't even know you needed, and then you feel like, oh, I really gotta have this, and I really gotta have that. So it's really easy to give into temptation. All right, and number 3, you need to ask yourself why you want out of the rat race. I know this is actually quite similar to visualizing the goal. Those are 2 kind of separate things. It's one is visualizing it. Like, we're very visual creatures, so it's really important to create a dream board and have like very visual things to help remind us of why we're doing this. And then the 3rd reason is like asking yourself why. So why are you doing all of this in the first place? It's like, what is your goal? Like, what do you want? Is it that you no longer want to be living, paycheck to paycheck? Do you want to be able to pay your bills on time? Do you want to go on that vacation you've always wanted to go on? Have you wanted to switch jobs and wanted to have like a financial safety net to help, catapult you into the next level? Like, have you always dreamed of owning your own job? Like, what is it that you want to do? Like, why are you doing this? Once you understand why, then everything else will follow, because now you have la raison d'être. So just, you gotta ask yourself, why are you doing this? And once you know, then everything else will kind of like fall into place. Yeah, or yeah. So yeah, so there you go. So those are kind of like my 3 I guess tips for overcoming the lust for money, and my 3 tips on how to be smart with your money. So yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to stop being a broke ass bitch. No, I'm kidding. Just to subscribe if you want to see more like minimalist or money related videos. And if nothing else, if you'd love to leave a comment, I'd greatly appreciate it. I always read and comment. So yeah, till next time. Bye.